Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Old Time Rock and Roll. I'm your host, David Tier, where I've been featuring my personal top 3,000 songs of the rock era from 1954 to 1999. Today, I'm up to song number 2854, and that one is I Just Want to Make Love to You by a British kind of blues rock band called Foghat. I'll get into them later, but I first want to talk about the history of the song. It's had a long history. It was actually written by Blues. Oh, here's a picture of the album it was on. So actually, they released a song in 1972 on this album. The self-titled album Foghat. I think that was the first album. But I want to talk about this song. I just want to make love to you. It was actually written a long time ago. It was written by this blues musician named Willie Dixon. I think in 1954, maybe a little bit earlier. But the first recording this song was by this guy here, Muddy Waters. He was a very famous blues musician, even pre-rock. I mean, I guess he was very influential in rock and roll because rock and roll started as R&B. So Muddy Waters was a big R&B musician. I don't know if you really call him a rock musician, but he did record a version of this song. It wasn't a hit. Um, but it was the first recorded version. And then in 1960, this another excellent R&B singer had a hit with it. Well, she didn't have a hit, but she released it on her album At Last, which was released in 1960. I'm sure you guys all know that song. Probably her most well-known song. That one was a hit, but I don't think she released I Just Want to Make Love to You as a single, but it was on this album. And then in '64, the Rolling Stones had a version. I guess it was one of their early, it was released on their album just called The Rolling Stones in 1964. And then another group named Mungo Jerry had a album called Electronically Tested, and they released this song on that album as well. So it's had many different versions of this song. But but I want to get back to Foghat again. Here's a picture of the band. So they were formed, and now I'll talk a little bit about the history of Foghat. So Foghat was, like I said, an English blues band that got started in 1972, kind of a blues rock band. I guess you might even consider them sort of hard rock. And I remember when I first heard the song "I Just Want to Make Love to You." It wasn't their first hit, by the way. Maybe I should talk about their other. They didn't have a lot of hits in the USA. They only had, I think, four top 40 hits. The first was called Slow Ride. That came out in 1975. I think that was also their biggest hit in the USA. And then in 76, they had Driving Wheel. That went to number 34. They also had another song in 76 I really like. It didn't quite make the top 40. It was Fool for the City. And I think that went to number 45. But 77, they came up with their version of I Just Want to Make Love to You, which went to number 33. And I think it was the first top 40 version. Uh, yeah, I think it was even the first version that charted in the USA. Probably the first version was released as a single. I'm not too surprised it wasn't released as a single before 1977. I mean, because of the title. I mean, it's a pretty provocative title, right? I mean, and if you think about it, there've been other songs that were censored or even banned because they had titles like this before. I mean, the Rolling Stones got a lot of trouble because in 1966 they released a hit called "Let's Spend the Night Together," which I don't think is as provocative as this. And so I guess our attitudes had loosened by 1977. And I also remember when I first heard this song on the radio. Actually, this was the first American Top 40 broadcast that I ever listened to. I even remember the week. It was October 16th, 1977. I have a photographic memory. And it was actually the first song I turned on. I didn't get start at the beginning. So the first song I heard them playing on American Top 40 was I Just Want to Make Love to You, October 16th, 1977. It hadn't peaked yet. It was number 37. It'd take a few more weeks to peak. But I do remember that, and I was a little shocked by the title at that time. And I was even more shocked, I think, when I learned that there were previous recordings. I heard the Rolling Stones version maybe 2 or 3 years later. Uh, So I was kind of surprised that Foghat didn't write this song, and I only learned that it was written in the 50s as a blues song maybe a year ago. So I've learned a lot about this song, and you know, I just want to. Okay, then Foghat had one more hit in 1979 called "Third Time Lucky." That one, number 23. But getting back to this song, and I don't think there's anything wrong with this song. I mean, we all make love. Well, not everybody, but I'd say about 90% of all people in our society make love. That's how we're born, right? So there's nothing wrong with making love. As a matter of fact, I think it's a really good thing. I know this from experience, and I think censorship is bad. I mean, there's way too much censorship. There's been throughout all of history, especially here in the USA. We have a Puritan ethic here, which I hate. I mean, they tried to in the 50s. "Howl" by Allen Ginsberg was censored because it was considered, profane, and you know, get something better to do than censor shit. I mean, if you want to censor things, censor violence, censor killing. I mean, or censor, offensive things, but don't censor sex. Because sex is normal, it's natural. Anyway, enough preaching from me. I do like this song. I just want to make love to you. I do kind of like the band Foghat, even though they didn't have a lot of big hits. I do like a lot of blues music because I lived in Chicago for 7 years, went to a lot of blues clubs there. I never heard them play this song, but they played a lot of other good songs, a lot of songs about sex and making love, because that's part of what blues and jazz is about. So anyway, that's my video on "I Just Want to Make Love to You" by Foghat. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. You guys are awesome, and I'll see you guys next time.